Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're embarking on a pretty deep journey into how we understand ourselves, really, and the world.
Yeah, the very foundations.
We're diving into Joseph L. Henderson's chapter, Ancient Myths and Modern Man. It's from Man and His Symbols.
A classic work.
Definitely. Think of this as like a guide to unlocking meanings hidden in ancient stories.
And figuring out why they still hit home today.
Exactly. We'll explore these eternal symbols, as Henderson calls them.
And how archaeology, anthropology, all these fields are showing they're still relevant.
Right. It kind of corrects that modern, maybe one-sided view.
That they're just old stories irrelevant to us now.
Yeah, that they were somehow primitive.
But what's really captivating is this rediscovery. These symbols aren't just past relics.
They're active now.
Actively shaping our experience, challenging our sometimes pretty narrow view of things.
We often dismiss myths as just superstition, don't we?
For a long time, yeah. But the evidence suggests they're fundamental, really basic to being human.
And a key figure here, helping bridge that ancient view with the modern one. That's Dr. Jung.
Through analytical psychology, yes. Groundbreaking stuff.
Okay, let's unpack that. Jung really pushed this idea that our minds carry history.
Yeah, like geological layers, you said. That's a good image.
So even with all our tech, we still have these deep imprints.
Precisely. The psyche isn't just conscious awareness. It has these deeper, unconscious layers holding those traces.
And the contents of that unconscious realm, the stuff bubbling below the surface.
It exerts this huge influence, often totally unrecognized.
So you might dismiss a dream as nonsense.
But unconsciously, you're processing its symbolic language.
Yeah. You think it's just brain noise, but an analyst sees patterns.
Over time, yes. Recurring images, narratives, it starts to make sense.
And understanding that can shift things profoundly. How you see yourself.
Your place in the world, yeah. Now, some symbols, the really ancient, maybe confusing ones.
Jung linked those to the collective unconscious. What is that exactly?
Right. Think of it as a kind of universal inheritance. A deep wellspring of instincts, images, basic human patterns we all share.
Like a hidden library.
Sort of. Containing humankind's wisdom over millennia. And these symbols are often so primal, our conscious minds struggle with them directly.
Okay, that clarifies it. So the analyst is like a guide translating these messages.
From our deepest selves, yeah. And it's not just intellectual curiosity.
No.
Sometimes it's seeing when old symbols don't serve us anymore. Other times it's tapping back into their vital energy.
Bringing that ancient wisdom into modern life.
Exactly. But first, you need a deep appreciation for their origins, their significance.
These parallels between myths and modern dreams, they're not just coincidences.
Not at all. Our unconscious minds still create and understand symbols, just like our ancestors did through myths and rituals.
And it's still psychically vital, shaping us unconsciously.
Profoundly. Our attitudes, behaviors, often without us realizing.
Henderson's example about wartime reading is interesting.
Right. Suddenly things like the Iliad or Shakespeare's histories.
They hit differently. You read them with this new, visceral understanding.
The specifics change, swords to drones, whatever. But the core themes.
Struggle, heroism, loss.
Human nature under pressure. Timeless. Deeply symbolic.
That raw emotion connects directly to these fundamental patterns.
In a way, intellectual understanding alone often can't. That's the power of the symbol.
And then we have examples woven into daily life, like Christmas.
Even if you're not religious, there's that sense of something significant happening in the darkest part of the year.
Rebirth, renewal, echoes of older solstice festivals.
We participate unknowingly, marking the return of light, new life after winter.
And these rituals still give comfort, meaning, same for Easter, right? With eggs and rabbits mixed in.
Yeah, that layering is fascinating. The Christian story on top, but underneath.
Older pagan symbolism. Fertility, cycles.
A whole rich tapestry. We often just focus on the surface layer.
Christ's resurrection seems similar to dying and rising gods like Osiris.
Superficially, yes. But Henderson points out a crucial difference.
What's that?
Those earlier gods were cyclical. Osiris, Tammuz. Their death and rebirth was an eternal pattern, repeating.
But Christ's resurrection.
Presented as singular, pivotal, a final ascension. The Last Judgment reinforces that definitive, non-repeating end.
And Henderson suggests that finality. Maybe it explains why early Christians kept some older fertility symbols.
Possibly. They might have still yearned for that recurring promise of life's renewal.
So, Easter eggs, rabbits, symbols of rebirth, fertility. They found a place.
It really shows how deep these psychic influences run, often below awareness. We call it folklore, but it taps into something fundamental.
Definitely.
Right.
And it's not just big festivals. Symbols shape our life stages, too.
Childhood, adolescence, adulthood, aging, even death.
He mentions that girl dreaming old age symbols at 8.
Yeah, suggesting the unconscious can present these progressions, like ancient initiation rituals marking life transitions.
It underscores how embedded these patterns are. They can emerge anytime.
Reflecting the psyche's own wisdom, its forward movement.
Which brings us to the practical side for analysts.
This link between archaic myths and dream symbols is huge.
It gives a framework, a context for interpretation.
A rich historical and psychological background, which sets us up perfectly to explore some key myths.
And see the analogies with dream symbols.
So let's dive into probably the most common story worldwide.
The hero myth.
The enduring myth of the hero.
It really does pop up everywhere. Ancient epics, medieval romance, folklore.
And as we'll see, in our dreams too. It has this drama, but Henderson argues there's deep psychological importance.
What's striking is how similar the structure is across cultures.
Even cultures with no contact, you see this fundamental pattern again and again.
Okay, what's the pattern?
A miraculous or maybe humble birth,
Right.
early signs of amazing strength or talent.
Like Hercules as a baby, or Arthur pulling the sword.
Exactly. Then a fast rise to prominence, a big triumph over evil or chaos.
A monster slaying part.
But then a vulnerability to pride, hybris.
The classic flaw.
Leading to a fall, often through betrayal or maybe a heroic sacrifice.
Let's break that down psychologically. What does it mean for us?
Henderson suggests it relates to the individual trying to assert their personality, find their identity,
And for society.
establishing collective identity, shared values. But there's another key element, tutelary figures.
The guardians or mentors. Like Athena helping Perseus.
Or Chiron teaching Achilles. These figures step in to aid the hero.
What's their role in this inner drama?
They symbolize the larger psyche, the self, providing strength the ego lacks initially.
So the myth's main job is developing ego consciousness.
Growing awareness of capabilities, limits, getting ready for life's challenges.
And the hero's symbolic death.
Can represent achieving that maturity. Once those early challenges are met, the classic hero myth becomes less directly relevant.
So it's really an internal journey of the ego maturing, not just external battles.
Precisely. And Henderson notes it's not a fixed template, it varies.
Depending on the stage of ego development, the specific challenges.
Exactly. The hero image itself evolves. To show this clearly, Henderson uses a great example.
The Winnebago Indian hero cycles, documented by Paul Radin.
Yes, a really clear 4-stage progression, from primal to more sophisticated.
Okay, walk us through them, starting with the Trickster.
Right. The Trickster is the earliest, least developed stage, like an infant's mentality.
Focused on immediate needs, physical appetite.
Totally. No foresight, just gratification, often cruel, cynical, no empathy. Think Brer Rabbit or Reynard the Fox.
Mischievous.
Yeah.
Driven by base desires outside social norms.
And often starts shapeless, animalistic, but gradually becomes more human-like.
So that raw, instinctual phase, what's next?
The hare cycle. Hare also appears in animal form like the coyote and other traditions.
A step forward.
A step. Not fully mature, but hare becomes the culture hero, the transformer.
Credited with giving the Winnebago their sacred medicine right.
Yes. Radin saw how powerful this myth remained, even merging with Christ later on.
So hare represents the start of socialization, correcting those purely infantile urges.
A move towards order, yes. Then comes Redhorn.
More complex, ambiguous.
Often the youngest of 10 brothers. He's more like the archetypal hero we discussed.
Proving himself in trials, battles.
Defeating giants with cunning and strength. And he has helped the Thunderbird storms as he walks.
The world feels more human here, but still needs superhuman aid against evil.
Right. But, significantly, near the end, the hero god departs, leaving Redhorn and his sons alone.
Hinting that the main threats now come from within humanity.
Exactly. Which raises that question of human limits, pride, hybris.
Leading to the final cycle. The twins.
Sons of the sun, essentially human, almost two halves of one person separated at birth, needing reunification.
Embodying dualities. Flesh is mild, stump is rebellious.
Like introvert-extrovert aspects, yeah. They seem invincible for a while, but misuse their power.
Get reckless. Destructive.
Until they cross a major line, killing an animal that supports the world.
A fundamental transgression. And the consequence.
Death. This theme of sacrifice or death as a cure for hybris appears in Redhorn and the Twins.
Henderson connects this to primitive human sacrifice, or totemic cannibalism.
As symbolic ways to internalize and tame destructive impulses, yes. European myths often frame sacrifice as specific punishment for hybris.
But the Winnebago Twins story ends differently.
They become terrified by their own unchecked power and willingly enter permanent rest, restoring equilibrium.
Wow. That detailed look at the Winnebago cycles really shows the evolution.
A clear developmental framework. And Henderson uses it to look at a modern dream.
From a middle-aged patient, showing these ancient patterns today. Tell us about it.
He dreamed he was in a theater, an important spectator watching a performance.
Okay.
Act 1. A white monkey on a pedestal representing a young sailor's ordeal, winds, beatings.
Monkey as sailor.
He questioned that. Then saw a young man in black, briefly thought he was the hero.
Okay.
A handsome young man appeared, willingly going to an altar for sacrifice.
Wow.
And finally, the dreamer himself is on a platform, hesitant to climb down a ladder because of toughs below, but a woman goes down safely and he follows.
A very layered dream. How did Henderson start unpacking it?
The theater setting points to the analysis itself. The dreamer, as spectator, shows his detachment.
Observing his own inner world.
Right. The figures are aspects of his own development. Monkey is late childhood playfulness.
Sailor is adolescent adventure, consequences.
Young man in black, no immediate association. Handsome young man is late adolescent idealism, sacrifice.
So linking dream figures to archetypes and personal history. The white monkey and the trickster.
Henderson saw the monkey as mainly trickster, playful, lawless. But this dreamer was introspective, maybe missed that phase.
Overly attached to parents didn't do the monkey tricks.
Exactly. So the dream puts the monkey on a pedestal, needing to elevate and integrate that missed playfulness now as adult creativity.
And the whiteness. Suggests something sacred.
Like albinos in primitive societies, underscoring the value of reclaiming that playful side.
Okay, what about the confusion monkey as sailor?
The sailor is a more evolved trickster undergoing initiation, moving from childhood irresponsibility to adolescent socialization.
Facing consequences. Winds are nature. Beatings are human discipline.
Like the Winnebago hair cycle, sacrificing childishness through trials. The dreamer's confusion shows his incomplete integration.
And acknowledging it suggests wanting to rehabilitate those missed stages.
Right. Now, that fleeting image. The young man in black.
Henderson says this brings in a key Jungian idea.
Yes, the shadow. The hidden, repressed, often unfavorable parts of us.
But it's not all bad. It holds good qualities too.
Instincts, creativity, real emotion, yes. The ego often fights the shadow, the battle for deliverance.
Like the hero versus dragon in myths.
Where the hero figure is the ego trying to overcome unconscious inertia. But Henderson says the hero needs to integrate the shadow.
Draw strength from it, like Faust and Mephistopheles.
That kind of complex engagement. So the man in black reminds the dreamer of his shadow's potential, leading to the sacrificial hero.
And the handsome young man on the altar.
Late adolescent idealism, full of energy, aspiration, but maybe overconfident, like Icarus.
The youthful ego has to risk overreaching to mature.
Exactly. And archetypally, it links to ancient human sacrifice rituals.
Acknowledging death leads to new life. Resonating with the dreamer, revisiting his youthful hopes and fears.
And the end of the dream, hesitating on the ladder.
The toughs below, fear of the trickster in collective form.
Seems likely, but there are saving elements. The man-made ladder, rational thought.
And the encouraging woman who descends safely.
The feminine principle, complementing the masculine effort. Also, the dreamer being a spectator highlights the difficulty of reintegrating into daily life after deep inner work.
It's amazing how Henderson weaves personal history with universal patterns.
He cautions against literal one-to-one links, but stresses how the unconscious uses these patterns creatively for the individual's needs.
Focusing on themes like sacrifice, transformation.
And notes these hero symbols often appear when the ego needs strengthening, needing resources from the unconscious.
He also notes the absence of the damsel in distress here.
Which often relates to the anima, the feminine in the male psyche, a topic von Franz explores elsewhere.
Right, which leads perfectly into the next section.
The hero and the anima specifically.
He uses another dream from a mature male patient returning from a long hike through India.
Symbolic, yes, since he'd never been. It represents exploring his unconscious.
And the dream starts with frustration, reproaching a woman, the Anima, for not providing rain hats.
leaving him feeling soaked, unprotected. It echoes youthful, heroic walks with a friend, feeling vulnerable.
Projecting the need for care onto the Anima like he once relied on his mother.
Exactly. A sense of the Anima failing him.
What happens next in the dream?
He's hiking with a group now, not alone. He gets tired, returns to an outdoor restaurant.
And finds the raincoat and missing rain hat.
Yes. Then he sees a poster of a high school boy as Perseus, the hero,
Which transforms
into a husky young man in gray with a black hat talking to another young man in a black suit.
The dreamer feels energized, sees a beautiful harbor town destination.
And feels hope, rejuvenation, a big shift in mood.
Definitely. What does this shift signify?
Hiking with a group suggests socialization, better relatedness. The Anima is functioning better symbolized by finding the rain hat.
The restaurant is a pause for reflection.
Re-evaluating attitudes, yes. Perseus recalls the youthful hero potential.
And the two young men, gray and black,
Represent the archetypal twins' ego and alter ego, or shadow but now in harmony, integrated.
what were the patient's own associations?
Gray figure, well-adjusted, worldly. Black figure, spiritual, maybe a clergyman.
The hats suggested mature identity he felt he lacked in adolescence. Still had some tricksterism,
Despite his idealistic self-image, yes. And his initial mix-up about Perseus
thinking he slew the Minotaur.
became significant because both Perseus and Theseus overcame fear of unconscious maternal power.
And liberated a youthful feminine figure, Andromeda or Ariadne.
Exactly. The theme of overcoming the devouring mother comes through strongly.
Perseus faced Medusa the dragon, Theseus the labyrinth, Minotaur, rescuing Ariadne.
Liberating the Anima from that negative mother image is key for healthy relationships with women later.
Henderson mentions another dream, a pursuing dragon shrinking when his wife appeared.
Showing progress in separating from maternal attachment in marriage, that growing up process symbolized by the hero dragon fight.
So the hero's journey is internal too, about these psychic relationships, especially the Anima.
And the ultimate goal isn't just marital adjustment.
It's liberating the Anima for creative achievement, realizing potential.
Yes. The harbor town symbolizes discovering his authentic Anima function, free from resentment.
He found security by contacting the hero archetype, gained cooperation, vitality.
Grew on inner strength, clarified his Anima, freed himself from the mother influence.
These dreams really show the hero-Anima connection in men. But Henderson then moves beyond the hero.
To the archetype of initiation.
Right. He starts by saying the hero ego isn't purely selfish. Even the trickster contributes somehow.
Setting the stage for development beyond that initial heroic phase.
And initiation marks that next stage. Psychologically, what does it mean?
The hero image helps the ego separate from parental archetypes in childhood.
Jung's idea. We start whole, self. Ego emerges, but needs to stay connected to the self for health.
Right. The hero myth is stage one of differentiation, needed for autonomy in the adult world.
But maintaining and developing consciousness needs more, often involving initiation.
And this connects to historical initiation rituals.
Forcibly weaning young people from parents into the tribe.
Breaking with childhood injures the parent archetype, needing healing through group assimilation. The group becomes a second parent.
The initiate is symbolically sacrificed, reborn into the community.
Jung called it a sacrifice to the powers that might hold the young man back. You can't just dismiss archetypal power without alienation.
Like the twins' hybris, too much ego separation corrected by fear forcing harmony.
Tribal rites manage this. The novice returns to the deep ego self-identity, experiences symbolic death in the collective unconscious.
Then is rescued, reborn, consolidating the ego within the group.
So these rites, tribal or complex, always involve death rebirth, a rite of passage.
And Henderson stresses, initiation isn't just for youth.
Every new phase, early to middle age, middle to old age, repeats the ego self-tension.
Transition to middle age, 35 to 40, can be potent.
Very. And approaching old age needs ego affirmation against death, the hero's final call.
During these times, the initiation archetype activates strongly, offering transformation beyond secular adolescent rites.
Religious initiation patterns, mysteries, are woven into church rituals around birth, marriage, death.
How does this manifest now in analysis?
Henderson looks at subjective experiences. Unconscious images mirroring historical initiation patterns appear in people seeking help.
A common theme for young people is the ordeal, trial of strength, like hero dreams.
Sailors' beatings, India hike, sacrificed young man. They seem similar.
But there's a crucial difference.
Yes, heroes strive for ambition, success. Initiation novices often give up ambition, submit to an ordeal without hope of success, prepared to die symbolically.
To be reborn into a new phase.
Exactly. Henderson gives the example of the 25-year-old dreaming of climbing a mountain to an altar.
With his own sarcophagus and statue waiting.
Yes. The climb seems heroic, adolescent ego. But the altar corrects that. The task is submission to a greater power.
Seeing himself dead, entombed, sarcophagus as archetypal mother, allows rebirth as son of the Sun Father.
Unlike the twins, there's no hybris here. He learns humility through death birth, marking the youth to adulthood passage.
His arrested development caused neurosis. The dream offers tribal wisdom. Give up proving strength. Submit to initiatory change.
Exactly. Embrace manhood's responsibilities.
And for women's initiation.
Submission is often key, too, emphasizing willing passivity, maybe linked to the menstrual cycle, awakening obedience to life's creative power.
A willing surrender to womanly function, like a man's community role.
Women might face strength trials, but often culminate in sacrifice for new birth, freeing them for a conscious individual role.
While a man's sacrifice might be surrendering independence for connection with a woman.
Initiation acquaints the sexes with each other's inner aspects. Man's logos meets woman's eros. Union as sacred marriage, heart of ancient mysteries.
Hard for modern minds to grasp, often needs a life crisis.
Yeah. Henderson gives dreams combining sacrifice and sacred marriage.
The young man fearing marriage as imprisonment by mother figures.
His dream. A ritual dance with fiancé, another man, an older non-possessive couple. A sword dance, aggression, submission, impulses.
Then everyone else plunges swords, dies. He refuses, feels ashamed.
Powerful stuff. Showed his readiness to change his self-centered attitude, his fear of childhood subjection.
He needed that challenge to see the isolation if he didn't sacrifice his childish mindset.
The dream was his symbolic right. Gave up exclusive autonomy for relatedness. And the result.
He married, found fulfillment. Marriage enhanced his effectiveness.
And even without explicit fears, the wedding ritual itself can feel initiatory.
Especially for the woman. The man might feel apprehensive about giving up independence.
Some tribal counterphobic rituals, symbolic abduction, reflect clinging to the hero role while submitting to marriage.
But the deeper meaning often points to integrating the anima, alongside finding a real wife.
An archetype that can appear at any age for men. And women don't always trust marriage either.
The patient with unfulfilled career longings in a difficult marriage.
Her dream. Kneeling opposite a man with a ring, tensely offering her right-hand ring finger.
Significant error.
Yeah.
Should be the left for balanced relation to the masculine principle.
Offering her whole conscious identity, right side, showed her fear of losing herself in a patriarchal marriage she rightly resisted.
Sacred marriage is key for female psychology, often prepared for by adolescent initiatory events.
Which leads us beautifully into the Beauty and the Beast section.
As a myth of feminine initiation.
Henderson notes girls use masculine hero myths for ego identity, but a deeper layer aims to make them women, not imitation men.
In modern society, that ancient layer might be repressed for equality's sake.
Leading to identification with masculine goals, illusion of freedom in marriage, despite submitting to the motherhood archetype.
Conflict often forces rediscovery of buried womanhood. Painful but rewarding.
He gives the example of the young married woman, childless yet good intellectual bond with husband, but
unsatisfactory sex life, temper outbursts, dissatisfaction.
Her dream. Women decapitated by guillotine, she remains unafraid, willing to submit.
Interpretation. Ready to stop living in her head. Free her body for natural response, motherhood. Needs drastic change. Sacrifice the masculine hero role.
She accepted intellectually, became more submissive, improved love life, became a mother, realized life for men, or masculine-identified women, is taken by storm.
But for women, often best realized by awakening, receptivity.
And Beauty and the Beast is the universal myth of this awakening.
Can you quickly recap the story and symbolism?
Beauty asks for a white rose, endangers father, takes his place with Beast, fears his visits, refuses marriage, sees sick father in mirror, begs to leave, promises return, sisters delay her, dreams Beast dying, rushes back, forgets ugliness, cares for him, he'll die happy. She realizes she loves him, promises marriage, he transforms into prince, enchanted into love for goodness.
Symbolism. Beauty bonded with father, spiritual love. White rose seems pure, but unconsciously pulls her towards cruelty-kindness mix.
Like wanting rescue from only virtuous love. Loving Beast, Awakening to human love, imperfect, erotic, awakening relatedness, accepting erotic part of original wish, repressed incest fear.
Leaving father facing fantasy incest fear to no animal man and her own true response.
Redeems herself in masculine image from repression, trusts love combining spirit and nature.
He shares a dream. Emancipated woman with incest fear. Father's attachment.
Chased by furious bull, flees uselessly, falls, bull looms over, she sings, quavers, bull calms, licks hand.
Interpretation. Can now relate to men more confidently feminine, sexually and erotically, wider relatedness.
And for older women, beast theme isn't always father-sex issues. Can be initiation at menopause or anytime spirit-nature union is off.
Dream of menopausal woman. With other women in strange house, face grotesque ape men.
Feel powerless, realize. Treat them with humanity to awaken their better side. She dances with one, later has healing powers, resuscitates dying man with breath. Colby.
Interpretation. Neglected creative gift, writing, for marriage kids, trying to force work, self-critical, dream shows problem with other women in transition, descends from conscious level, strange house, collective unconscious, challenge, accept masculine principle as animal man, trickster, relating to humanizing ape man, accepting unpredictable natural creative spirit, allows new writing style.
Resuscitating man with breath, even need for spirit revival, creative masculine, not just erotic warmth. Universal symbol. Ritual brings creative breath to new achievement.
And one more dream emphasizing the nature aspect.
Woman dreams of large insect, whirling legs, yellow-black through window. Becomes queer animal, tiger stripes, bear paws, wolf face, fears for kids. Sunday, little girl in white off to Sunday school, needs police.
Creature becomes part woman animal, fawns, wants love, feels like fairy tale, only kindness transforms, tries to embrace, can't, pushes away but must keep near, get used to, maybe kiss someday.
Interpretation. Too carried away by masculine creative function, compulsive mental focus, hindering feminine wifely function, creative side, underground, overorganized housewife.
Dream transforms bad spirit into female form to accept, cultivate. Harmonize creative intellectual with instinct for warm relations.
New acceptance of nature's duality, cruel kind, adventurous domestic. Opposites reconciled at sophisticated level, harmful to innocent child self-image.
Needs to overcome naive self-image, embrace full polarity, like beauty giving up father's pure white rose for beast's beneficent fury.
This exploration of feminine initiation is really powerful. Henderson then moves towards religious initiation.
Orpheus and the Son of Man.
Right. He notes Beauty and the Beast has a natural wonder, belongs to a class of mystery narratives with parallels in major myths and rituals.
Like the Greco-Roman religion of Dionysus and its successor, Orphism.
Prime examples. Rituals expressing the psychological experience, offering mysteries initiation. Both feature an androgynous god-man understanding nature, mastering initiation.
Dionysiac religion. Orgiastic rites abandoned to animal nature, experience Earth Mother's power. Wine as initiator, lowering consciousness into nature's secrets.
Essence, expressed by Dionysus, joined with Ariadne in sacred marriage erotic fulfillment.
But those rites lost power. Oriental longing for liberation from purely natural symbols arose.
Dionysiac religion too wild for ascetic souls who sought ecstasy inwardly, worshipping Orpheus.
Orpheus likely real singer, prophet, martyred, tomb became shrine. Early Christians saw him as prototype of Christ.
Both offered future divine life in late Hellenistic world, mediators offering hope to dying Grecian culture under Rome.
But a key difference, Orphic mysteries kept the old Dionysiac essence alive, but sublimated.
Preserve the quality of an agriculture-rooted religion. Fertility gods, eternal recurrent cycle, birth, growth, decay.
Christianity dispelled the mysteries. Christ from patriarchal pastoral religion, Messiah as absolutely divine.
Son of man, virgin birth, from heaven, incarnated, return to heaven once and for all, reign till second coming, resurrection.
Early Christian asceticism didn't stick. Cyclic mysteries haunted followers. Church incorporated pagan practices.
Easter resurrection timing, baptism as initiation, though faded, especially Protestantism.
But the Catholic elevation of the chalice still echoes.
Jung described it. Prepares wine spiritualization, invocation to Holy Ghost, infuses, transforms. Chalice rite of host, blood from right side.
Communion ritual is universal, but awareness differs. Dionysiac looked back to earth origins.
Pompeii frescoes show terror mask of Dionysus in cup. Winnowing basket fruits, phallus creative symbols of breeding growth.
Christian mystery looks forward. Union with transcendent God, Mother Nature left behind.
Christ offers spiritual certainty, Son of God in heaven. Orpheus fuses both. Remembers Dionysus, looks toward Christ.
Linda fears David's view. Orpheus taught mastery over nature via song lyre. Animals, elements obeyed, harmonious order from within.
Mediator, representing nature's light, appeasing creatures. Embodies devotion, piety, solves conflict, turns soul beyond conflict. Truly the Good Shepherd.
Orpheus, as good shepherd, balances Dionysiac, cyclic netherworld, and Christian heavenly scatological.
And these initiatory events repeat endlessly in modern dreams fantasies.
Henderson shares a fantasy. Woman in analysis, fatigue, depression.
Sitting hunched, long table, white cloth, windowless, vaulted room. Felt little life left. Red crosses on gold discs appear. Recalls old commitment. Sits long time.
Sees kind man beside her, knows her past, there to heal. Aware of ugliness, death odor, wonders if he'll be repelled. He looks long, doesn't turn away, breathes easier.
Feels cool, breeze water, wraps cloth, prepares for sleep. Vague memory of healing hands on shoulder wounds.
Interpretation. Linked to struggles with Catholic upbringing, freeing from conventions. Church year symbolism remained helpful.
White cloth sacrificial, vaulted room, tomb. Commitment, submission, descent into death vault, leaving church family for own God experience, imitation of Christ.
The sacrificial cloth, that winding sheet. Healing man, analyst friend association, good shepherd, Orpheus Christ, mediator, healer, on side of life, convincing her return from death vault.
Cool breeze water, primordial purification, cleansing death's sin, true baptism essence.
And another fantasy. Birthday on Christ's resurrection. More meaningful than childhood ones.
But didn't identify with Christ. Something lacking. Prayer reached heaven beyond human reach. Fell back on rebirth symbol, rising sun.
New feminine symbol emerged. Embryo and watery sac, carrying 8-year-old boy through water, passing a danger point.
New movement, no longer threatened by death. Landscape changed. Forest, spring waterfall, green vines, stone bowl with water moss violets. Bathes under golden waterfall, feels like child.
Interpretation. Rebirth of larger spiritual self, baptized in nature as a child, rescued older child, ego at traumatic time, past danger point, guilt over leaving family religion, all in nature Orpheus realm, not risen Christ.
Dream followed. Church like Assisi, Giotto's St. Francis frescoes. Felt more at home. St. Francis, religious man of nature like Orpheus. Revived feelings about religious change, now joyful, inspired by nature's light.
Series ended with echo of Dionysus. Reminder Orpheus can be too removed from animal god's power.
Dream. Leading fair-haired child in happy festival. Sun, forests, flowers. Child places white flower on black bull's head, decorated for festival. Recalls ancient Dionysus bull rites.
Dream continued. Bull, pierced by golden arrow. Besides Dionysus, links to Persian Mithras sacrificing bull.
Like Orpheus, longing for spirit triumphing over animal passions, leading to peace after initiation.
Series confirms no final peace in religious quest. Modern Westerners still navigate pagan versus Christian, rebirth versus resurrection.
Clue to solution in first fantasy. Red crosses on gold discs in Death Vault. Signaled profound change. Red crosses, Christian devotion. Gold discs, always pre-Christian mysteries. Vision. Reconcile Christian pagan in new life.
Final observation. Eleusinian mysteries, Demeter Persephone, weren't just for abundant life.
But also preparation for death. Death also needs initiatory rite.
Funeral urn relief shows final stage. Novice with goddesses, preceded by purification, pig sacrifice, sacred marriage. Hints at later mysteries, Orphism, where death promises immortality.
Christianity went further. Everlasting life in heaven. More than cyclic reincarnation.
Modern life repeats old patterns. Facing death may need relearning. Death is a mystery needing preparation, submission, humility, like preparing for life.
Which brings us to the final section. Symbols of transcendence.
A different category of symbols now, not fitting neatly into doctrine or secular groups.
Pointing to liberation from immature fixed states. Release, transcendence towards superior, mature development.
Henderson says a child has completeness before ego. Adult completeness comes via union of consciousness with unconscious Jung's transcendent function.
Highest goal, full realization of individual self. Symbols of transcendence represent striving for this.
They let unconscious contents enter consciousness and actively express those contents.
Manifold forms in history, modern dreams at critical stages, archaic level. Trickster reappears as shaman medicine man.
Master of magic, intuition. Primitive initiation, power and supposability to leave body, fly as bird.
Bird as fitting symbol of transcendence, represents intuition working through a medium, getting knowledge of distant known in trance.
Evidence from Paleolithic. Lascaux cave painting. Shaman. Bird mask, bird on staff.
Siberian shamans wear bird costumes, believed conceived by bird descent. Shaman, as favored scion of invisible power realms, roams them as master.
Highest level. Hindu master yogis in trance going beyond normal thought.
A common dream symbol of transcendence. Lonely journey pilgrimage.
Spiritual quest. Acquainted with death as release, renunciation, atonement. Often guided by a feminine spirit.
Kuan Yin, Sophia, Pallas Athena. A mistress, not master. But transcendence isn't just flight or wilderness journey.
Any strong release movement?
Yeah.
Early life?
Yeah.
Initiation needs taking steps alone, breaking from family group.
Eliot's awful daring of a moment's surrender. Later life, maybe not breaking all ties, but divine discontent forces new discovery.
Important middle to old age. Retirement, work, play, home travel shifts.
Interestingly, if life was adventurous and secure, longing for settlement certainty becomes the transcendence symbol.
If lived mainly in social pattern, need liberating change. World trip, smaller house. But external changes aren't enough.
Useless without inner transcendence of old values, creating, not just inventing, a new life pattern.
He gives the case of a woman with a stable, culturally rich life.
Dream found strange natural wood pieces. Neanderthal man brought them. Saw distant dark mass of Neanderthals, took wood. Journeyed alone. Looked into huge abyss, extinct volcano, water.
Expected Neanderthals saw black water pigs running end of black volcanic rocks.
Dream takes her to prehistoric, truly unconscious level dark mass. Yet she's active, takes natural wood, primordial unconscious linked tree plant, psychic growth versus animal instinct.
Journey alone. Need for release, initiatory transcendence. Greater. Violent fire memory. Trace of traumatic adolescent passion. Fear of madness. Need to break family pattern. Achieved peace, but
Lingering wish for more differentiation, freedom from her own life pattern.
resonates with another dream. Young man needing differentiation.
Volcano dream, 2 birds flying from crater, fear of eruption. Lonely place, water between him and volcano.
Individual initiation journey. Like simple tribes, initiates lonely journey to sacred place, Crater Lake, for vision trance encounter with guardian spirit.
Close identification, bush soul, makes him a man. Without it, ordinary Indian, nobody.
So young man's dream pointed to future independence identity. Woman near life's end had similar journey, needing similar independence for harmony with eternal human law transcending culture.
Such independence isn't yogi detachment. In her dead landscape, she saw water pigs.
Unknown species live in water earth. Universal animal transcendence symbol. From earth mother depths, denizens of collective unconscious, bring chthonic underworld message, different from spiritual birds in young man's dream. Other canonic symbols, rodents, lizards, snakes, fish.
Intermediate creatures, wild duck swan too. Common dream symbol, snake. Asclepius' healing symbol.
Non-poisonous tree snake on staff, mediation between earth heaven. More potent. 2 entwined serpents, nagas, Hermes staff caduceus.
Early Greek Hermes, stone pillar, god's bust, entwined serpents, erect phallus, serpents in union, phallus fertility.
But not just biological fertility. Hermes as trickster, messenger, crossroads god, psychoplomb. Phallus penetrates known to unknown for spiritual deliverance healing.
Originally Egypt. Hermes as ibis-headed Thoth, bird form of transcendent principle. Greek Hermes regained bird attributes, winged staff, hat, sandals, added to serpent nature.
Full transcendence. Lower snake consciousness through earthly reality to superhuman flight.
Composite symbols in alchemy. Winged horse dragon. These symbols changing in patient work show therapy liberating deeper contents for effective life understanding.
Modern difficulty grasping these symbols. Connection between containment, liberation, and our predicament.
Easier realizing only specific forms change, not psychic meaning. Wild birds still symbolize release.
But today also, jet planes, rockets, physical transcendence freeing from gravity.
Ancient containment symbols, stability, inspired modern search for economic security, social welfare.
Everyone sees life's conflicts. Adventure discipline, evil virtue, freedom security. Phrases describing ambivalence we can't answer.
But there is an answer. The meeting point in initiation rites, enabling union of opposing forces, achieving equilibrium.
Rites don't offer this automatically. Relate to life phases. Moment can pass unless understood translated.
Initiation. Process begins with submission, then containment, then liberation. Enables reconciling conflicting elements, striking balance, becoming truly human, master of oneself.
So to wrap up our deep dive, we've really journeyed through this world of symbols, archetypes.
Hero, initiation. The unconscious mind, all through Henderson's lens.
And what stands out is that thread connecting ancient myths and rituals.
To modern inner lives, dreams. It's timeless, universal. these patterns endure.
So for you, the listener, a final thought to ponder. Consider that dynamic, that push and pull between containment and liberation in your own life.
Can you see any personal initiation journeys you've been on, or maybe are on right now?
Are there symbols of transcendence appearing in dreams, waking life, guiding your own development towards wholeness?
We'd really encourage exploring Jungian psychology further, the rich world of symbolism. Powerful tools for self-understanding.
Tapping into that ancient wisdom still alive within us, this deep dive really highlights that vital link.
Between the myths of our collective past and the ongoing journey of the modern psyche.
Absolutely.